So, like, here's the thing. Yes, PMCs will always exist because what are PMCs? Reality is that they're just mercenaries that have decided to adapt to the bureaucracy of modern society, right? So they're no longer just individual soldiers or groups of soldiers wandering around going, hey, I'll fight for whoever for money. Now they have a company so they can have licenses and taxes, and one person can be influenced rather than having to influence every soldier, right? Like, so they've just adapted, but it's mercenaries, and they'll always be mercenaries. Why? Because people always want to kill each other. Now, here's the problem. If you have PMCs exclusively fighting PMCs, private military contractors fighting exclusively private military contractors. Private military contractors, for those who don't know, don't accept anybody. Most won't even entertain the idea of talking to you if somebody within the company doesn't tell them ahead of time who you are and vouches for you ahead of time. They don't hire from outside their communities, you know? So that means somebody that you served with either in law enforcement, whether it's federal or local, or somebody that you served with in the military that already works for the company has to vouch for you first before they'll entertain the idea of having you come out to show them what you can do, or looking at a resume or anything of that nature. That being said, those communities are also just filled with like special operator dudes for the most part. Most people don't go into those. That's why PMCs are not very large. They're actually quite small. And if you have just PMCs fighting PMCs, guess what happens? Those special forces dudes that are special operations dudes and special forces dudes that are joining those ranks now are joining without experience because militaries wouldn't be getting used anymore. And eventually you would just run out of mercenaries if everyone's fighting each other just using mercenaries. So then you would again have to lower your standards to the point where you're just accepting everybody to keep up with the demand, right? And at that point, you've just become private armies. And when I say private armies, I mean the same style that governments would put on. And you're using the same exact people the government would be using in a formal military. You're just using them in a private capacity with less benefits. Less oversight, right? Like, that is such a slippery slope, because then the government can't be held accountable for the things a private military company does. That's on them. You can see where that can be a problem really quick.